I didn't think it was possible, but after seeing the brand new combat gameplay, side quests and more new gameplay for Hogwarts Legacy, I got even more excited. Like, the fact that we get to wield 16 spells in combat is going to be insane. So if you're looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy and have been enjoying the content on the channel, then totally leave a like to help us out. Of course, subscribe as well for more news on the game, and let's go. So while we did already see some combat in action during the game's previous gameplay showcase, we didn't really know how it was going to work. But now that we've got an in-depth look at it, I have to say I think it looks pretty great. The basic idea is that you have basic attacks that you perform by tapping R2 or RT. But there is also a selection of slottable spells, as you can see in the bottom right here, that you can access by holding R2 or RT and then pressing one of the face buttons. And while currently the player only has access to 4 different slottable spells, the developers have mentioned that you will be able to have multiple of these spell diamonds to slot up to 16 spells in total. There will be more than 20 slottable spells in the game, so at the very least you will be able to slot and equip over half of them at the same time. These slottable spells will go on a cooldown after casting them, but the Accio spell used in the example here becomes available for use pretty quick after casting it. And on top of that, you should also be able to improve the cooldown of your spells in certain ways as well. And while all these spells of course have their own unique effect, they can apparently even be modified further to change their behavior, which according to the devs is linked to the talent system. I think we can already see it here, where the normal Incendio spell just releases a blast of fire, but in this example casting it also triggers a ring of fire around the player. But each type of spell also has a specific use in combat too. While the Accio spell I just mentioned is used to yank someone towards you, it is also used to break through these violet colored shields that some enemies have. We later see that Levioso is used to break through a yellow shield on an enemy, so the color on these spell icons actually indicates what type of shield they are effective against. The color of the spell also indicates if it's a damage spell, which I assume is the red one to the right, a force spell like the violet colored Accio, a control spell like Levioso, which is yellow, or a different kind like Lumos on the left. And with a total of 16 spells at your disposal at the same time, I think this can really make combat super interesting and varied. It kind of reminds me of the stance system from Ghost of Tsushima, where different stances are used to counter different enemies, but instead of a different katana combo per stance, a yellow shield now means that when you use the right tool to counter, you can fling someone up into the air and follow up with a box to their head, which I have to say looks very satisfying. You can of course also counter enemy spells, which is what this halo indicator over your head is for, and depending on whether you press or hold the deflect button, you can simply parry the attack or immediately follow up with your own counter spell too. Something that wasn't talked about by the developers is the fact that there is also a combo meter going on in the bottom right of your screen, which also seems tied to this bar that fills up slowly when attacking. During our live reaction, which I'll link to in the video description, people speculate that this could be tied to the ancient magic our character possesses, and that meter is what allows us to tap into it. I'm inclined to agree on that one, and I think that will result in some of the more spectacular finishing moves that we've seen in some of the prior gameplay. But if we want to expand our arsenal of spells, we of course have to attend our classes and learn them. We did actually get some new details on how these are going to work, and it's not what I thought it was going to be. Instead of going for a more sim-like system where you have to manage your daily activities, like Persona for example, classes are more like side quests that unlock at a certain point in the story. Each chapter will unlock a new host of missions, and new classes will also be part of these. The developers did note, however, that a lot of your core spells and abilities are unlocked through classes, so it's definitely a good idea to check in with your teachers and see what new things you can learn. Just know that you don't have to worry about missing any classes because they're not on a timed schedule. And that means there's plenty of free time to go and discover all of the famous landmarks and locations you might recognize from the books and movies. There's the defense against the dark arts classroom with the massive dragon skeleton, the house core hourglasses, the dining hall. All of these have been very faithfully recreated from the looks of it, and while it will be fun to explore new areas like the Hufflepuff common room too, I am definitely looking forward to rediscovering some familiar locations as well. Luckily, getting from point A to B should be easy thanks to your access to the Flu network, which is this game's version of fast travel. You can see a lot of these unlocking throughout the gameplay demo by the player just walking past them, so fast travel should be pretty easy and convenient. The game's trophy list actually leaked, and while we're of course not going to be discussing any story spoilers here, there is a trophy for finding all the Flu flame points in the world. A lot of these trophies and achievements are tied to the many activities in the game, like learning all the spells, brewing all potions, and breeding every beast. But the one that made me the happiest was the Spilled Milk trophy, which confirms that the Flipendo spell will also be in the game. If you've played the old Harry Potter games, you know that spell was pretty much your bread and butter for the entire school year, and it's mostly used to knock away an object or a person. Let's just hope they left PS1 Hagrid where he belongs. Another thing you want to pay attention to when you're exploring the castle halls is your Wizard's Field Guide. This book that is given to you to help you catch up since you're a late entry to the school is filled with challenges for pretty much all activities in the game. There's some for combat, quests and exploration, as well as field guide pages, which are the snippets of lore you can find hidden throughout the castle, and the Room of Requirement, which is where you'll be preparing your ingredients, brewing your potions, and taking care of all your magical creatures. And of course, next to hidden objects and lore pages, there are a lot of other students to find wandering around Hogwarts, some of which will also give you quests. And while the dialogue and animations in these still feel a bit rusty, it is really cool to see that even in minor conversations you have multiple ways of responding to express what type of character you want to be. A major part of that is of course character creation, and we also got a pretty extended look at that. You start with a template and then you can change things up like your face shape, skin, hairstyle and color. There are some minor tweaking options like scars, eyebrows and skin complexity too, but it's mostly serviceable without being overwhelming. There are also options for glasses, of course very important in the Harry Potter universe, and while the selection at the start is limited, the devs have stated that more styles will be available to unlock throughout the game. You can even go back and change some, but not all aspects of character creation later on if you want to. Apparently there is some sort of barbershop in Hogsmeade where you're able to switch up your hairstyle if you want, so that is really cool, but you won't be able to redesign your face or body after character creation. And next to the students who need our help with some smaller errands, there are a lot of other people at the school with their own stories to tell. We already know quite a bit about companions Natsai, Poppy and Sebastian, but two new characters have been revealed over on the game's official Twitter. One of them got a lot of people excited, which is a Ravenclaw student named Amit Takar. He's got a knack for astronomy and wants to become a historian, and while there's no official confirmation for this, a lot of people are speculating that he will be the Ravenclaw companion, as that is currently the only Hogwarts house that doesn't have an NPC companion yet. I don't know for sure yet, the tweet mentions he is just one of those classmates, making me believe our relationship might not become as deep as to the other companions, but he certainly sounds like a nice guy to become friends with. Now much more interesting to me is the defense against the dark arts teacher Dina Heka. I'm pretty sure that last name is derived from Hecate, a Greek goddess associated with magic and witchcraft, so that's very fitting. And while she looks like a nice old lady, her character description mentions that her teaching methods are very hands-on, which might have something to do with her past experiences working at the Department of Mysteries. The game's official Twitter hints we'll learn more about that, so definitely pay attention in her classes. Community manager Chandler Wood also confirmed she's a Ravenclaw, so she's sure to have a lot of knowledge to share. And on the note of professors, I caught something interesting during one of the conversations of the gameplay showcase, which is a student mentioning a Professor Black. Considering the fact that the studio mentioned in a PlayStation blog post we'd be seeing some familiar names, this has to be a relative of Sirius Black, right? I've been speculating for a long time that the Headmaster in Hogwarts Legacy would be Phineas Black, mostly because of the time period in which the game is set, but this definitely adds more fuel to that fire. And it would definitely be interesting, as the biggest thing we know about Phineas is that he was the school's least popular headmaster, so I wonder if we are going to find out why. When we learn more about the game, we will of course let you know here, so subscribe to miss nothing and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. If you want, you can watch our previous video where we go in depth on the PlayStation exclusive content and why it's kind of a big deal. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.